Flapper! Flappy! So 240 divided by 45. Flapper. 240 divided by 45 is 5.33333333. Yeah, I love the blueprints thing. So, since it's not just 5, that means it's going to be 6, with the 6th one being turned down to 33.333433. So it tells me the belt has an invalid shape, and it made the shape. It wasn't that funny, whatever thing. It was kind of scary. Flapper. Well, I have all of those machines set up over by the encased beams, and one block of 4 of those machines at 45 will eat 240. Right? 240 divided by 45 is, I think it's 45. Might be 30. Oh, never mind, it's 60, so right, it's 4. So, I was just letting this thing get primed. So this should be 240 steel ingots a minute. Which I think I'm just gonna do a line of Mark III conveyor all the way over to where steel is. I'm trying to look at the base to see the best way to run the thing. Like, I mean, I could do like a skyway. This is already a mess over here, but I kind of sacrifice neatness just for the sake of having a thing. And again, like, everything is its own aesthetic in the sense that, like, I mean, everything follows the rules that cause it to do what it does, which causes it to look the way that it looks. Like, I have so many rotors. It's just because it was running for a longer period of time. Like, the boxes had a big chunk of rotors in them. And since the motors only eat the rotors at a rate at which the rotors are made, there's not really gonna ever be much of a difference in the box. And I think the machines make a decimal place more rotors. And I've just got this tuned to the whole amount of rotors. Flapper! Ooh. But yeah, a set of 4 of these machines, because right now these 2 are set to, or these 3 are set to 2 whole ones and a percentage to chew up the excess 240 being made by the steel ingots. What the other part is going to pipes for stators. Flappy! Flapper! It feels weird setting one machine at 6.25%, but that's what it calls for. So I mean, now it's going to eat up all of those ingots from the remainder of the steel pipes for the stators, which was at 2.5 machines, I think. And then the full 240 from the set of 4, which is 97.5 total steel ingots. And since I have enough concrete to run the whole set of assemblers, because the assemblers were built around the concrete, which turned out not to really be much of a mistake, because I just had to add more steel ingots. Like, yeah, before I do oil, I should probably go add another set of 16 coal generators and use that other coal node that's over there. I mean, I would be fine until I started adding refineries. And then at that point I might trip the switch. Yeah, I thought that iron and coal was way farther away than it turned out that it was. Ah, crap, I took the wrong tube. Flapper. No, I think I like this. Just use the blueprints to throw like 9 assemblers or however many constructors or whatever that only has the whatever amount of inputs for whatever thing that you're trying to make. Because so long as you make all the base parts that those machines need, you don't need to have a... You don't need to have a freaking factory that makes that stuff. I mean, ideally at the end you do want to have a factory that makes every part, but I really like these. I used to avoid making them because they took up space and they took up time. When building a factory that just used raw materials all the way up to making the final part all by itself was always better, because making these was, you know, it was a waste of time. But I mean, now that I've got blueprints, and like, say if I wanted to make you know, just the handful of parts for phase 3 or whatever, I can just all the way up through the more complex parts. I could just throw it in, you know, anywhere from what, 2 to 4 boxes, and whatever it is, like, and it also acts as storage between the machines. Like, the automated wiring ran out of freaking cable, so all the stators of the stator machine that was feeding stators as it made them into the automated wiring are just in the buffer box between, just in the input box of the freaking the automated wiring thing. But if I threw a handful of cables in here, this thing would light up and like start cranking out automated wiring as fast as it possibly could. You sacrifice speed, parts, time, and downtime by doing that, but the upside is you don't have to go and plan out a factory to make those parts. You just skip right through the unlockables and stuff, because so long as you have enough parts from having factories that make the parts, like the magic boxes here, you basically have infinite stuff. Like this menagerie over here that some of it still has Mark 1 belts on it. Like, I've cleared out these boxes and thrown them into the other machines just to burn through parts multiple times, and it's fixed them. Like, I mean, I think if I wanted to get the frames thing going, what do I need? Rods and plates, I think. And I think rods go in the right, yeah, because I still have some plates in here. But yeah, like, all the starter stuff is mostly what you need to make, you know, everything that comes afterward. Like, to make all the basic machines, you need just this thing. It's my factory maker, is what this is. And I've hardly even had to upgrade it at all, because as I'm out using the parts, it's just consistently putting parts back into the box until it's full. No off switches, no smart sorters, no, it's pretty simple solution. And this even splits off the parts from the parts that are being used to go into the storage. So once the storage is full, it just automatically starts putting the excess through the machines that are making other parts. And if any section gets blocked, any of the excess input that other machines are still using, like the screws, it just uses the path of least resistance and starts funneling more screws that way. And as it consumes more parts at the end, it makes more room for all of the stuff to filter through. So if any part gets clogged, it automatically goes to the part that isn't clogged. And so long as the boxes aren't full, or if I grab a stack of stuff out of a box, it automatically restarts itself and just keeps running. But is it a lot of individual parts per minute? Oh no. No, 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 no. Oh no. And it doesn't even have to be balanced, because in the beginning of the game, when you're using Mark 1 belts, you couldn't balance it if you tried because of the math. Like, I mean, and you're just working with such, like, low throughput that it kind of doesn't even matter. It's better to just spend time building other machines while those machines that you just built are putting parts in a box. Just anything to, as quickly as possible, get to the next belt speed. I mean, Mark 3 isn't bad. The downside of building a bunch of crap out of Mark 3 is that you then have to go upgrade it all. Because to have a factory and a node set up and like everything built, when all you have to do is add a slug to like the the initial inputs for the cost of like 3 slugs, you save all of that time in that factory. You might have to add a few more machines, but 3 isn't bad. You get a lot of stuff done with 3. I mean, but every single thing that's happening is the equivalent of me standing here at the crafting bench crafting each individual part one at a time. the shortest distance and the path of least resistance. Like, I was just thinking about the factory in the other world that I had to make I did 6 heavy frames a minute. Which means you needed like 30 of those modular frames a minute. I think it was 30. Could be wrong. But it was crazy. I mean, I still have the world, like, it's just the amount of stuff that I have to do now is just like insane to do, like the particle accelerators and like the fuel, and plus I kind of screwed up my nuclear station. Like, I tried to use drones and totally messed up how I balanced them. I mean, I've got a ton of crap over there to make the parts, and it runs the factory just fine, but I wanted it to be a little bit more smooth. Like, if you could set the parts per minute on a drone, you know, on the input or on the output, I mean, and then dealing with batteries and have to make that many batteries for that many drones, and like, I mean, part of me does kind of want to finish the playthrough. But then the other part of it is, like, I recorded a bunch of it and then deleted the videos for space because I didn't want to sit there and upload them all. And it can be a little tedious sometimes, but the best thing to transport items is a freaking conveyor belt. I mean, you might need X amount of thousands of whatever base material to run the conveyor belt, but bird. Yeah, I'm gonna have to freaking put in more coal power. I mean, it's nice because the blueprints just save so much time. And I finally figured out how to use them in the sense that, like, you know, you just tick the thing in the to-do list. Like, if you need to make like 16 coal power plants, you just do 16 of the blueprints. Then you know that you have all the crap to make all of the crap. And then as long as you get the first one placed exactly where you want the rest of them to be, with enough space and everything, and clearance on all sides for the pipes and stuff, then you just run into the distance and kind of look up to like toward the middle-ish area of the blueprint that you just placed, and hold control and then rotate it to where the power poles are on the right side. And it automatically snaps it to where the other building was. And that's pretty great. And I struggled with learning how to use it a little bit, and I was like, I kept placing it in the wrong freaking spot. Sometimes between blueprints, it'll automatically pick the wrong spot. So the thing that I found is, if you can look at this pattern and look at where the edge of these things and whatever blueprint it is, and so long as you line these up, it should be relatively even, whether it be a constructor or anything else, like, because the buses on the front, the load balancer on the front is it's roughly about the same for every machine, in the sense that they're all the same parts that are all the same size, and you can connect X amount of machines and X amount of inputs in the exact same way. And like, this is the most space efficient way that I found to do it, both with build time and like space and organization, and like just how easy it is to slap a lift on the input. So like in the case where I did the 9 assemblers for the automated wiring, like this thing, since you're running like a flooded input thing, like all of the machines are totally full of parts, so, and all of the conveyors are totally full of parts, so anytime that any machine eats parts and it needs parts, so long as you don't go past the throughput of the belt, it'll evenly distribute the parts, because it's only replacing the parts in the line that were consumed by that machine. With the bigger machines, because I've made bigger singular machines, like I had a Caterium ore thing that I think had 30 constructors on it or something to make the wire. It was crazy. It's in the other world too. Like, with those, as you divide by 3 and divide by 3 and divide by 3 and divide by 3, you kind of want like a Mark V belt. Because as you divide 240 by 3 and then two like that by 3 and then that by 3 and then that by 3, eventually you can hit the output on an individual input for like a constructor and assembler. Eventually you can go below that part per minute being consumed if you have too many chained fractal splitters. But so long as you have like a Mark V belt, you should be fine. But like in the case where I ran out of ingots and I had to restructure all of those constructors that made steel beams, you can pretty much mix and match these in smaller amounts, and you can even do the math to calculate that, like, you know, that 240 is going to be divided by 3, and then that's going to be divided by 3, and that's going to be divided by 3, and you can divide your inputs up based on the belt speed. Like those 4 machines over there they eat 240 steel ingots, so all of the steel that's being made by this steel factory over here is being consumed by those machines and turned into steel beams for the encased steel beams. But because it doesn't underrun or overrun the throughput for the belt speed, and it's only divided, you know, by 3 and then by that section, but that section that runs slower always gets full faster, so all of the excess goes to the other machines anyway, because of the path of least resistance. So after 45 minutes of that explanation, the long and the short of it is it automatically balances itself with the splitter, so long as all of your machines in a set, their total parts per minute add up to what's being consumed by the, you know, as long as it matches the input, you're fine. Like this right here, this is running slow, which means I could probably add something that eats more copper ingots and still be fine. But this is kind of a case where I haven't done the math really. I know that the amount of smelters I have are set up to make the amount of raw ore into ingots as fast as they can make raw ore. But then there's one of those where I don't really have a reason to mess with the copper, and it's running just fine, so I can go do something else that's more important. Like stand there and look at the sky. Or yell Flappy at the flapper that goes by. You know. Stand next to the loudest thing in the game and then try to talk over it. The other advantage to these using the lift and the splitters is all of your conveyors are up off the floor. And you can look at, like, I can look at this top tier splitter and know that I could look and just see that it's what I can see exactly what it's doing from the floor. Like, I don't have to get up on a higher vantage point to see which part is going from which part. Like, but this whole set of machines here, these are just making iron rods. These are all chained back together to make iron rods. And these just make screws. But yeah, that one input gets evenly systematically distributed to every one of these machines. And I think that's so cool. And all you gotta do is slap a lift onto a splitter or a merger. It's awesome, guys. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a stream here and take a little break. That's awesome. That's awesome, guys. Let me save here. Yeah, I gotta go put in more freaking coal. The steel went in surprisingly fast. Okay, so I got the game saved. Alright, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.